Right after the show yesterday, Miss Sundlun, you had an opportunity to interview somebody very special.
Yes, Tess Holliday, and she's not what you would call a typical supermodel. She loves fashion and beauty, but she doesn't subscribe to the idea that you have to be a size 0 to be beautiful and fulfilled.
Absolutely. She's out with a new book called The Not So Subtle Art of Being a Fat Girl. And Kara talked to her yesterday about talked about all of her struggles and the hope of helping people.
Take a look.
Yeah, I'm quite terrified. It's been out in the UK and Australia for a couple weeks now, and so I've gotten feedback. But every time someone says they read my book and they love it or how they feel about it, I thank God, like, they know all of this stuff about my life. But I've had so much positive feedback from people, and I know that it's going to help. I know it's going to help people. I know that they're going to find ways that they can connect and identify with it. And even though it's terrifying, I'm taking all of the good with it.
Well, and there were some terrifying things that happened to you when you were younger, and this is what's such a compelling read, and kids who are going through things, and even young adults. But, you know, from growing up and facing things like poverty, to your mother nearly dying, she was almost murdered, to you being abused for much of your life, it's almost amazing. You really were a phoenix rising from the ashes. Do you talk about wherever that strength came from, or how perhaps we could tap into that?
I do. You know, I talk a lot about how I got to where I am today, and letting people know that it wasn't overnight and that it's a process, and it's still a process. I mean, I have good days and bad days. Even through writing the book, it brought up a lot of stuff that I thought I had dealt with, and you know, that's life. Things kind of rear their ugly head at times. That's not the most convenient, and but you just have to kind of deal with it. And I'm really fortunate that I've had really supportive people in my life who have understood that, you know, I need a lot of support and love, and I try and give the same back to myself and others. But the overall message is that we have to be kind to ourselves and others, because if we're not going to get anywhere.
And I understand your mom was a real inspiration, even though she faced her own battles. You were big even growing up, and she told you no matter what, you go do it. You can be a model. How did you and you believed her, and you made it happen?
You know, I think, like, it's funny because a lot of moms, like, if their kid came to them and said, I want to be a model, I feel like most moms would be like, yeah, sure, and, like, support it. But, you know, I think maybe my mom was just as delusional as I was, and we just set out on this journey together. And I feel really fortunate that she didn't try and stop me, even if maybe deep down she thought that it was completely ridiculous. And I think that's what we should do with our kids. Even if we don't always agree with what they want to do, if they're not hurting themselves or others, and they're just merely trying to find their way in this world that can be really hard, then why not support them and let them learn for themselves? And look, like, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for her letting me dye my hair crazy colors and do what I want to do, you know?
All right, I've got a daughter who wanted to put some purple streaks in. Interesting. I'll have to look at your book. And you, as a mother yourself, we get to see that side of you and how you struggled raising a child alone.
Yeah, I had always said that I would be like one of the girls in Sex and the City and maybe have a kid when I was like 40 and like settle down, and life doesn't always happen that way. And I am really fortunate that while I talk about you know, maybe things we can do to protect ourselves so that you're not in a situation of having a child on your own, because it is incredibly difficult to be a single mother. But when I was in that situation, what it did for me is it pushed me to fight even harder, because I wanted to be there for my son, and I wanted to show him that he could do whatever he wanted to do. And, you know, maybe everything happens for a reason in a weird way.
So you have really overcome the barriers in Hollywood and become a top model and celebrated the skin that you're in. Have you reached that point where people just accept you just as you are and know that's a good thing? Or are you still facing people who want to change you?
You know, I still get people that want to change me, or people meet me and they don't quite get it, or they think that it's just a phase like my mom did growing up. But really, it's all about I have to be patient with people, and sometimes that means educating them and answering the same question a million times, but I understand that that's just part of what I have to do. But I feel really fortunate that my team understands that this is who I am, and they support what I want to do. But, you know, not everyone's going going to be like that, and it's okay, and I'll just keep repeating myself till I'm blue in the face and hopefully change how people perceive myself and others like me.
Well, it's really about a book of just, owning who you are. She certainly does that with grace. Tess Holliday's book is called The Not So Subtle Art of Being a Fat Girl. It's available in U.S. bookstores on Tuesday.
Oh.